Hi, my name is Abela, and I am currently a secondary level English teacher in Santa Rosa, California. I am in my 5th year teaching full-time. I currently teach 8th grade. The classes that I now teach are a combination. I teach English support, regular education, English language arts, as well as honors classes. And I am qualified to teach grades 7 through 12 and also at the junior college level. I have an extremely dynamic teaching background. Once I graduated with my credential, I was hired to teach grades 9 through 12 full-time. I taught ELD classes, which are English language development classes, as well as regular general ed English language arts. Many of my students had never thought about going to college. I became known as the teacher who helped my students get into the university. I volunteered a lot of my time helping my students with their financial aid. I also acted as a guidance counselor, reading their high school transcripts and also making their schedules for the new semester. A lot of my students, many of their basic needs were not being met at home. So when I was teaching, I had students from all types of situations, various personalities, in which I learned and I mastered the ability to tailor my lessons to the individual needs of students. I've continued to take professional development trainings, and I've even volunteered to coach track last year, which is something that I love to do and I plan on doing in the future. My ultimate goal as an educator is not simply to try to teach English, but to help my students develop into the best possible versions of themselves. These are not skills that you learn in a textbook, but these are skills that are rather modeled. This is why my approach to teaching is crucial. I try to teach my students these skills by modeling them every single day. One thing that I am extremely clear on is the expectations that I hold for my students in the classroom. Classroom expectations and rules are always posted somewhere visually in the classroom where the students can see them. I go over them, I model them with the students, and we talk about them and we discuss them together. I have extremely strong classroom management, and this is because my students know that I care about them as individuals. From the start of the school year, I genuinely care and show an interest in my students by trying to get to know them. I want to know what sports do they play, what is their favorite movie, what type of music do they listen to. Because I have the ability to relate to my students and to build solid, meaningful relationships with them, this creates a community and a relationship amongst teacher and student in which we can communicate. Behavior issues are going to arise. It doesn't matter if you have an honors class or you are teaching a support class. Teenagers are teenagers and we can't expect them to be perfect. If behavior issues do persist, I believe in academic or behavior contracts. These contracts are put together within a conference where the teacher, myself, and the student are all present. We set goals for the student, and we also outline what might happen if these goals are not met. I try to invoke a classroom which is peaceful yet academic. I love to hang up the students' work in which they are proud, as well as artwork and several positive quotes. I try to connect my lessons with real-world experiences in students' everyday life. That's why it's so important to use multiple channels such as audio, visual, and kinesthetic strategies when teaching. Currently, my class is reading the novel The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Prior to reading this novel, my students needed to have some prior background knowledge as to what was happening during the 1960s in the US. I brought in some music for my students to listen to during the 1960s. We looked at several images so that they knew the styles, the dress. I also gave them a brief history as to the social and political changes which were happening throughout this time era. After we've done all this, we had a class discussion and debate about some of the morals and themes which would be taking place in the novel, which directly related to the social and political changes during the climate of this particular time era. When we're reading together, my students all have their own copy of the book. I also project the novel page that we're currently reading on my Elmo, and I let my finger drift down the page so that my students can either follow me on the big screen or they can read it themselves. As we read, I continue to point out literary devices such as metaphors and similes and give the students a brief explanation as to what they are, but not enough to interrupt the story. I love teaching, I love what I do, and I'm looking forward to finding a school that I love somewhere in the UK for this upcoming fall term. Thank you so much for taking the time of watching my video, and I look forward to speaking with you soon.